Well, one of the most amazing life-changing stories for me personally is that I actually met my son when I started this work. So I went to Ethiopia to bring my daughter home from Ethiopia, and that's when the work for Mothers with a Heart for Ethiopia started. And when my mom and we raised money through sending emails to friends and family back home, and we asked them to support us in our work to try to feed a group of 16 boys and to provide clothing and shoes and blankets and tarps. And my son was a part of that group of 16 boys. And in the very first day that we took them out for a meal, he asked to pray. And when he sat down, he looked at me. And I just really felt God asking me to do more for this specific boy. And from there, he's been my son for 9 years. Pretty life-changing. So we have 6 projects actually as a part of the organization that we have as Mothers with a Heart for Ethiopia. So 6 projects. We have 2 girls soccer teams called GETS, Girls Empowered Through Soccer, RAPS, Washable Reusable Affordable Pads, Basayu, which is a project that is taking kids off the streets and providing everything that they need for care and also reunifying them with family, 85% success rate in doing that. Girls Gotta Run, which is providing educational scholarships as well as athletic training and life empowerment skills, surgeries for prolapsed uterus, and a group home. And so all of these projects absolutely would not be possible without our donors. And our donors sometimes relate to one particular project, sometimes they don't. They just really look at the money that we're raising to support these 6 different projects in Ethiopia and want to be a part of helping to make changes in lives, really profound changes. And we're doing that through education, through healthcare, through life enrichment skills, and really just trying to change the trajectory of a lot of people's lives, women and children. So Devxchange is a meaningful organization because they're providing all of the experience and the knowledge that they've had in working in Ethiopia particularly. Whenever we've run into any challenges, they've been able to help navigate through those challenges because of people that they have on the ground, as well as their knowledge of the culture, and also supporting other projects in development. And so they've been able to guide us and direct us in ways that we wouldn't have otherwise known what to do. And of course, they're very, very helpful in the regard with donor relations. Before we joined Devxchange, we were not able to offer that support to our donors of an official tax receipt. And we know that for many donors, that's something that really helps to motivate them give, sometimes at higher levels. And then I think it also adds a credibility to the work that we're trying to do in that it's being recognized by the Canadian government. I think doing the work that we as an organization do for Ethiopia is really just a blessing. And in Canada, I just feel like we are so blessed to be able to be a blessing to others. Not everybody in the world is in that position to be able to choose to spend their time and choose to spend their resources and their talents to help others who are living in very, very different circumstances. And so, you know, making that choice, our volunteers, our 150 volunteers have all made that choice. Our donors have made that choice, and together we come together as a team, and we recognize the needs, and we also recognize that doing this together as a team, it is phenomenally powerful, and not just for the people in Ethiopia, but for us too, because we get to join forces with people who are like-minded, like-hearted, and we come together and we combine our times, our skills, our time, our talents, and mostly our hearts. And together, you know, we've been able to create relationships together because we know that we're all doing this together as a team. And so powerful on the side of Ethiopia because it's helping to change lives in very meaningful ways, but powerful on the Canadian side of things too, because we have people that are really engaged in something that's life-changing, both in Ethiopia, but in our own lives too. It's changing our own lives. So I'm so thankful for that.
So I work with the Greenfields Kids Foundation, and currently we're building a school in Rubanda, Uganda, and we're building like a school and a support system for the children there who are needy and orphaned, most of them. One of our success stories, kind of, is there's this young girl, Maureen. She was having trouble in school, and she got sponsored by one of the donors, and she's able to now stay at the school and sleep overnight, and her grades are improving and stuff, which is really great. Because when she goes home, most kids got a lot of chores they need to do, and schoolwork is usually pushed off to last, if not done at all. So by her being able to stay at the school, her grades are improving, and her outlook, her future is going to be improving as well. If we didn't have donors, the school wouldn't be possible. We wouldn't be able to build the school and the necessities that they need to learn. You know, we wouldn't have been able to build a bathroom for them, and school grounds, and a playground for them. They're needy and orphan children, so their parents don't have, half of them don't have parents, and their caregivers don't have the funds to put them through school. So a lot of them have sponsors who help them with school uniforms, school supplies, all that kind of stuff. Devxchange helps us by giving us the outlet to ask for donations, and they're a charitable cause, so we can get income receipts for taxes and stuff, and they help provide us with so many different resources to help us get the project started and going.
Okay, so my husband and I support a project called Soos tiene compasión de ellos. It is a transformational drug rehab project. It's in the Dominican Republic, run by a pastor who just, he and his wife saw so many men on the streets of the Dominican Republic, and they said, we have to do something. So they have a center where they, well, they no longer have to invite men. The men now invite themselves. Say, Pastor, can we please come? Because we've heard such amazing stories about your center. In 2017, we visited, and we visited again in 2018 at the end of the year. And I have to tell you that the difference from the one year to the other was just phenomenal. In 2018, the men had so much more purpose on the grounds of the center. They were no longer just sitting and watching TV. They were helping with the bakery. They were interacting. They were playing games, chess and other things like that. They were helping one another. They were assisting one another. And when we wanted to get some stories, some interviews from them, we had some amazing stories. The men actually said, could you please interview us? So this is the one that impacted me the most. His name is Christian. He came to the center in the fall of 2018. And at that time he had been heavily into drugs, lost contact with his family. And after being at the center for 1 month, he was completely cured of his drug addiction. And he had to tell me that. He said, you know what, Elvira? He said, this center is worth fighting for because it saves men's lives. What can you do? What can you do when you hear a story like that? And that's just one. There is another gentleman who now works as our contact. He's also our translator when we go. And he walked over 70 kilometers on foot. It took him days to get to the center just so that he could be released from his addictions. And the stories go on like that. So that's really powerful. Well, at this point, aside from my brother, it's my husband and myself who support them. So what they do with the money that we send is they pay their rent. They purchase food for 24 to 30 men. They're really only supposed to have 24 men there, but inevitably when we call, they say, well, we have 30 again. And that's just how it goes there. Yeah, so for the food, for the rent, electricity, water, these type of things are what we support. The pastor, however, has a vision to not rent, but to purchase a property, to be able to build a center that suits their needs so that they will be able to help a whole bunch more people in the Dominican Republic. We would not be able to do this without Devxchange. Earlier on, I was just sending money, occasionally I was sending money through Western Union. But the positive thing with Devxchange is, number one, we have all this support. Number two, we have other people who we can chat with, who can encourage us in what we're doing. And number three, we do get tax receipts, which allows us actually to send more rather than less. So Devxchange has been a huge assistance. We tried another organization, and it was not as positive as this experience. Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to tell you about something that I read this morning. So I've been praying about this interview, about doing this, wondering what I would say, how I would say it. It's nerve-wracking. And this morning, in one of the devotionals that I read, there was a story. There was a story of a group of seminary students who were asked to look at the parable of the Good Samaritan. They were asked to look at that parable, to do some research on it, and three of the students decided to do a practical experiment. So they had one of their students, one of the three, they ripped his clothes up, they put dirt on him, ketchup to simulate wounds and everything, and they put him in a very well-marked place on campus. And then they sat back, they went into the shrubbery and observed. Do you know that of those people who professed to understand what Jesus meant when he said we should be like the Samaritan, nobody stopped to help. People would walk over him, they would walk around him, some would talk to him, but nobody stopped to help. And the passage that was in Scripture was this. It's from 1 John 3:16 and 17. It says, "This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers. If anyone has material possessions and sees his brother in need but has no pity on him, how can the love of God be in him?" So for my husband and myself, this is what we're doing. We're just seeing someone in need, and how can we not help?
Our project is the Sagami Scholarship project, and it's related to the Sagami Learning Center in Wokite, Ethiopia. And the school there, at this time, it's a not-for-profit private school, and it has 700 students. It started about 12 years ago with 40 students, grew quickly to 70, and it's grown over the years, and now almost 700 students. And of those, the scholarships are provided to about 100 students, some half scholarships, some full scholarships. And what the school does is it helps to prepare students so that at the end of grade 8 they'll be able to pass the test to be able to go to high school. That's very important because with the public schools, they're very crowded. Often children are only able to go for half the day. This is the school has a more enriched learning environment, and more similar to the kinds of things that students are used to here in Canada. And what it means is that they're able to better learn, and at the end of their time, be able to go on to high school and to university. And that's been the record of the school. So the scholarship program enables children who otherwise wouldn't be able to attend that school to be there and to succeed. And it means they can continue with higher education and have a better life, and their families can have a better life as well, in terms of having better jobs and earning capabilities and that sort of thing, and also to be able to improve the life of their community, their family, and their country, Ethiopia. And so this is a program we've been involved with for almost 10 years, past 5 years through Devxchange, and it's worked out very well. What we often say is that it's not our program. This is something that we're doing as Canadians for Ethiopians. This is something that the Ethiopian community, the Ethiopians, in Wokite are doing for themselves, and we're just helping as we're able to.
Yeah. Which is correct. It's a friend of ours, a contact of Mike's, originally through his travels, met with our friend Solfiso, and he and his family actually started the school because they felt there was a need for it. And basically, through their friendship, asked for our support and help, which we've been able to help through our family and friends. And over the years, it's developed. And I think for Solfiso and his family and many other families in that area, the key to success for their children and their country is education. And one of the goals in providing scholarships was to encourage more girls to attend school, because traditionally it was often the boy who was sent to school, or boys first. But now, with the school's growth, actually it's 50-50 girls and boys, which is very important. And now with some of the graduates from high school have gone on to university, both young men and young women, which is very exciting and very important.
It's interesting to see what's happened to the graduates of the school. As Jocelyn said, they're now through university, the first graduates, and doctors, engineers, teachers, other professions. So, and interesting too that quite a few of the girls are engineers. So that's something interesting from our sort of perspective as Canadians as well. But yeah, it's something that we feel good about being able to help people, but it's something that those folks are doing for themselves. It's as we say, it's their project, and we're just helping it as we can. Ethiopia is one of the countries that's really been a beacon of democracy and growth in Africa, and I think that's something that people notice as well. Our donors certainly notice that.
I think just one last thing, we just feel very fortunate that we have the relationship with Devxchange. It's allowed our project to grow, but also in a very professional way. We like the accountability and the guidance that they give with the monthly reports and the resources, and even our meeting today, just to be able to come together and learn more. It's been great.
In the grand scheme of things, our project is really tiny. Okay, as a charity and as a kind of a project helping education and development. But with Devxchange, as Jocelyn said, it gives us that accountability and the ability to do what we do, and it really
a little money can make a big difference.
We've seen it. Big difference. And when only 10% goes to administrative costs, it's
wonderful.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing without Devxchange.
No.
We can take donations from foundations. Foundations can't give to a project if it's not registered. And like I say, that kind of accountability, that kind of legitimacy is really important.
Yeah, my project, which is Life Scholarship Project, Low Income Family Ethiopian Scholarship, is a scholarship that provides an opportunity for bright kids but economically disadvantaged kids that would potentially drop out of high school because of only economic reasons. So these kids are the leaders of the future. These kids are potentially future doctors, scientists, leaders of the countries. However, because of their economic reasons, they will not have the opportunity to exploit their God-given potential. So they will be dropping out of high school, and then my scholarship is providing the opportunity for these kids to continue their school journey and fulfill their potential. And that's what I have been doing for the last 15 years. And it is very important. If you are helping, an investment in human capital is the most important investment for development of a country. if your money is towards, it should be invested in human capital. That's the most important investment. And if you change a human being, you are changing a country. And Ethiopia has been part of countries in the world's map as poverty-stricken country. If that country has to change, then the population has to be educated and must come out of that poverty. One way of doing that is through education. That's what my scholarship is trying to address. My scholarship program started like 15 years ago, and I happened to be around Berry, and then on some occasion, that's when Devxchange was new, I happened to have some knowledge with Bethel fellows, and we came across, and then I was telling the story of my scholarship, and she asked me to be part of that group. And actually, the low-income family scholarship, the name itself, Life Scholarship, was coined by her, by Beth. That's how the name starts. And then, since then, the Devxchange has provided us an opportunity to use that. Devxchange is a registered charity organization, and then all our funders and providers are giving that tax receipts. And also, my scholarship got that exposure on the Devxchange, and I was able to get support from Canadian funding. So I have been a member of Devxchange and also a board member for many years. So I really feel that I'm part and parcel of Devxchange. This scholarship, my scholarship has provided support for more than 3,500 kids so far. And it has been 15 years doing this activity. And this activity is really part, and it's very close to my heart, and it's very close to my passion. And because through this scholarship, I see myself. I grew up in a countryside, and I was able to continue my school journey because it happened to be my uncle was in a high school where there is a high school. If I didn't have that uncle, I wouldn't have been where I am now. And I am always thinking that I should, because one of my best friends, who was one of the smartest kids in school, he couldn't continue the school journey because he was not be able to afford to go to school. It's far removed, but there is no public transportation for kids to go from the countryside to the cities where the high schools are located. And they cannot travel all days. Even myself, I traveled back and forth to school, from my village to school, every day, barefooted, on a daily basis, 1 hour going and 1 hour coming back, 2 hours. And I was able to do that, but when it comes to the high school, I was not able, I wouldn't have done. So because of that, another kid who was doing every day 4 hours on barefooted. And then after finishing his high school, elementary school, he couldn't continue because he was not able to afford, or he has nobody. And he dropped out of school and he stayed. I don't know what is, I always remember him, and then it was my promise, when I turned, or when I had an opportunity, I would do something to similar kids that would have same challenge in school. So that's what the scholarship is trying to do. I'm happy that also I have implementing partners in Ethiopia who are also contributing 50% of the fund required for the scholarship, and also they make complete control, and they check the students, the true students that should benefit out of that scholarship. And also I should mention, there is also another guy in the States. His name is Dr. Abraham Bakala. He is also a partner with me from the States side, from the United States. Through that, we were able to support 3,500 kids so far, and we continue doing the same. And for all supporters that have supported my scholarship for the last 15 years, I want to say thank you. And please continue doing the same thing, because it's a big change that we are making on human capital. Thank you very much.
Sure. Our project is in Jinja, Uganda, and it's a baby home, so they take in babies from 0 to 3 years old. And the beautiful thing about our project is there's 2 other homes above that these babies can graduate to, and they're all started by siblings that were once in an orphanage themselves. So the generational beauty of what somebody was touched by in their own life and what they're giving back to is just amazing. We're part of the Sunrise Baby Home because we want to help them purchase land. Right now they're in about 1,000 square feet with 45 babies and about 6 nannies, and they're maxed out. And if you can imagine what that does when you have a baby that's ill or has a disease, and that it's very hard to contain that or stop other people from getting it, and that just running right through all the babies. So Domily, who is our project leader in Uganda, has her feet on the ground. This home was her heart and her vision. Now she's got a bigger vision. She would like to have property and build a home so that these babies have a healthier environment. She's built a reputation in Jinja where people are bringing her babies. And so she knows, how can I say no to these babies? So she just wants to grow that vision that started years ago and just be better at what she's doing. We here in North America don't understand what it is to see a baby in a dumpster or a baby on the side of the road or a baby having parents so ill because of HIV and generational disease that there's nobody at all to care for them. So just recently, actually, at the beginning of February of this year, they took in a baby that was near death. I mean, it was skin and bones, and Domily took it in, even without the necessary funds, just prayed about this baby coming in and knew she had to take care of it. And we can say today that that baby is smiling like it has never had before and has life and will be, hopefully, a healthy baby from here on in and has overcome a near-death experience at only about 3 months old. Yeah, we're basically piggybacking a U.S. entity, so the main board is in the U.S. and they've had many U.S. donors. We have many contacts here that know of Sunrise, that have sent trips and been in Uganda themselves, but without Devxchange we wouldn't be able to find Canadian donors because we can't tax receipt. And so, yes, yeah, we're new to it. So we're hoping to feed off of existing donors and just build the Canadian support for Uganda. Domily is actually coming over here in the fall, which we're excited about, so she can share her passion. And so Devxchange has just been a wonderful outlet for us to be able to step in and help as Canadians and to reach across the world. How beautiful it is that we take for granted here in North America how much we have. So our children and I, we went over to Uganda 3 years ago, and $20 here wouldn't feed our family of 7 an ice cream. And we were able to feed 40 children their own bowl of ice cream over there. And so it's just, I want people to maybe stop and think about how far their dollar can actually go. We think of buying property over there and that's such a big feat, but if we all pour in and pitch in just a bit, we can make a huge difference.
Hi, so we would like to tell you about the mission that we're involved with, and it's called Adore Little Children Botswana. And this is a mission that is so dear to our hearts. We've been so fortunate to go several times and see firsthand the amazing work they are doing there and how small amounts of funding has made such a huge difference in the work that they are doing. And this mission was started by 2 women, Paula Curry and Margaret Sicleri, and they wanted to reach out to families and especially to orphans and vulnerable children in the most impoverished area of Botswana in the Okavango Delta. And that's where the mission is. And as we've gone there and we've seen the work that they are doing, the children, sometimes as young as 2 years old, will walk great distances by themselves to arrive to the Adore property. It's a place that's safe. They know they're going to get something to eat. They're going to get lots of love and hugs, and they'll learn how much God loves them. And we have a preschool program that is run there. They'll learn about English and Setswana, and it's just an amazing way of helping the young children. And just to give you one example, there was a young girl that when we were there, and she had on a terrible tattered skirt that was tied so tight around her waist. Just, it was so uncomfortable for her, and you could not see a single smile on that face. And we were able to take some clothing over there and just to see her face light up. That's just one example of many children in this situation. They come from some difficult home life, And not only are the children being helped, but the parents are as well, because Adore, their desire is to help families become self-sufficient. So they have designed different kinds of programs to meet needs of men and women there so they can learn skills. Many of the men and women are there helping at Adore, and because of the funds we've been able to raise here in Canada through Devxchange, we've been able to provide all of those stipends so volunteers can come. They gain such great self-worth. They're being used to help people in their own village, and just to see the delight on their faces, and we just see how God is showing His love through the staff there at Adore. The sewing program is another area of help, and so women have learned how to sew on the industrial sewing machines, and they've learned to sew school uniforms, which are then sold to families for the local school. And that's been amazing for us to see that program growing. And then there's the gardening right there on the Adore property. People are learning how to grow vegetables in the terrible dust, sandy ground that they have in that village. And to see that the children are able to have spinach and carrots and vegetables along with rice. And so it's been really helpful for them to gain some nutritious meals. There's a lot of malnutrition in this area. And even the farm life, the families really, there's nothing that they can do to gain employment in the villages. It's an area with reed and mud huts with dirt floors, no electricity, no running water, other than a few standpipes that they can walk to. And the one thing they do have are some farms, but they're great distance away. It could be a 4-hour walk to go there where they grow some grain. So Adore is just providing hope to these families, showing them how much that they are cared for, that they are loved. And even other villages now are seeing the benefits and are asking Adore, can you come and help us in our village? And the local school has even said they see a huge difference in the children after they've come through this preschool program at Adore, that they are coming ready to learn. And we found in the past that parents really didn't value education, but now they are seeing the difference it's making in their children's lives. Anything, Deb, you want to add?
No, just that through the donations that folks make, it is just allowing us to do and help these people in this area of Botswana, and it's just so wonderful. It's amazing how such a small donation from just folks, regular folks, makes such a huge difference in what can happen over there. It's just amazing.
Our project is called Bethel House India, and in India one of the big problems is the sex between the boys and the girls. People prefer to have a male child rather than a female child, so there are many abortions. Maybe in 2015 about 15.6 million abortions in that one country. And so our project is aiming to provide some pregnancy centers that would be supports for the ladies. If their relatives do not want the pregnancy, there's so much pressure, there's very little support. So we have a social worker, and just to give a little story, in August of last year, a lady went to have an abortion to a health center, and when she went in, there was a program that our social worker was running, so she thought, well, I'll just sit in on that. And the social worker could see she wasn't really engaged. The rest of the ladies were enjoying looking at fetal models and hearing about fetal development. And so after she talked to the lady, we'll call her Lakeisha, and Lakeisha said, I'm expecting my third baby, we don't want it. My first 2 pregnancies, there were problems in the hospital. And anyway, Andrew said, come on to the office and let's talk some more, which the lady did. And she was persuaded that this baby is very valuable. And Andrew said, that baby won't have jaundice and you will be able to hold it right after birth. So as it turned out, when we visited in February, we got to hold this little 7-day-old baby. And we're so thankful that pregnancy centers can provide the support that the ladies need. So we've been traveling around different parts of India, and we were excited. We were in the north in a new area this year, and some church planters said, this is very useful to us, even as we're sharing about the Lord, but we can also share about fetal development because a lot of people don't know much about it. And 2 weeks after we spoke to those church planters, a man called and he said, you know, that information you gave me, we've already used it and saved a life. So we're very thrilled about that. And even since we came back, one center has opened in the south, and about 3 more people have said to Doug, we would be very interested in starting a center in our area. So our goal is, we'd love to see a pregnancy center in each area of each district of each state of India. And we're so grateful to Devxchange because without being able to do the project, many Indian people would still be under many of the lies. They don't really know what's in the womb. They're sometimes being told it's just blood clots, just have it out. Sometimes they're told to the wife, it's your fault that you're having baby girls, when really it's the dad who decides the sex of the baby. So we're pleased to be able to share truth with people, and they're being very responsive. So thank you, Devxchange, for just representing us to the government and processing funds, both our receipts and also the funds that go to India. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Devxchange is a bridge to have contact between us and in back home to help, to support poor people. They don't have anything for life. Especially my project is on the Devxchange supporting orphans and elders that they don't have any support to get for life. Bethel is in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, near to Addis Ababa garbage dump area that helps orphans and elders. This orphans and elders comes from a dump area because they don't have any food, any income to survive. And this dump area go people around 500 elders and orphans to get food and other stuff for selling to survive. And Bethel stands to protect them, to go to this garbage dump area and to go to those streets, to protect them, to have basic needs, education, and health care. We support them to protect them. And we have a plan to grow up, to increase. We have 200 kids and orphans right now. We have a plan to increase by supporting them because of the environment or the population grow up. These people is growing the numbers. So we are planning to more support to get more help for them in terms of education, in terms of life, income generating small business.
Our project is NEMA Child Project, and we started it in 2016. And our main goal is to raise funds to support Kingdom Child Project, which is based in Uganda. It has an orphanage, so we raise funds to support those orphans in terms of education, paying their tuition, their school fees, food, buying food for the orphans, clothing, and health care. And the way people can support our project is through making donations. Right now we have, people have signed up for monthly donations through Devxchange. So we are raising funds that way. The other way that we are raising funds, the choir, we have a choir called NEMA Children's Choir. They come every year in summer, and they perform in schools, they perform in churches, raising awareness about our project and getting donations that way. So that's another way we are getting support for our project. I am from there, but the way I came to get involved with the project, Pastor Daniel Mtiwa, our implementing partner, he used to come here before he would come alone. He didn't come with the choir before, so I met him through my church here, the Uganda Matters Church. He used to come there and make presentations about the orphanage. I was the treasurer for that church, so we started raising funds for that orphanage. That's how I got to get involved with the project.
So my name is Sue Black, and our project is New Hope Microloans located in northern Ethiopia. And what New Hope tries to do is we target the kind of the poor of the poor, poorest of the poor, and we try to give small loans to them to start a small project, a small business, so that they can be looking after their own personal needs. And we found that people really want to work, but often just have no opportunity whatsoever to make any money. And so all they need is a start. And it's just been amazing to me that $100 can change a life, because people can start a business in making something, like in getting a sewing machine, say, and then be able to do tailoring. They can get the materials that they need and make fishing nets. And all of a sudden they go from begging to being able to do something and feel that true pride of being able to look after yourself and adding to their community. And so, yeah, it's been a wonderful experience just seeing the life change. So here in Canada, if you want to start a business or something, you know, it takes a lot of money just to get off the ground. But there, and especially for these kind of businesses, because we're talking about people that don't have enough money to eat and to get clothes on their children. And so for $100 there, you can start them in a grassroots business, and the opportunity is then given for them to pay back that loan, and there's no interest, but to pay back that loan and then take another one to build up the business. And then they can slowly build up, because the other thing is they have no business experience. But our team on the ground there, we have a lot of volunteers, and we have an amazing fellow Demolish that heads it all up, and he just relates really well to people, and he can help them make a little business plan, and he follows up to, you know, just teach them the basics of, you know, how to make a profit and how to have enough money to, he's even made them, to be a part of this program, you have to be willing to save 10%. And so they start little bank accounts and they save, and the idea is that after they take their 3 loans, they can start loaning to themselves to continue to make the business bigger. We actually have 2 models for microloans with New Hope. The one model is that we provide a loan to someone, and then they pay it back, and they can get up to 3 loans. But then once that's back, that goes back out again to help someone else. And we're finding too that the lives that are transformed aren't just that one individual, but it changes the trajectory of the family, because often that business can be passed and continue and has grown. So it really has amazing potential to really change lives and break that cycle of poverty that so many people are caught in. But Bob actually traveled to Kenya and found that they were using a model there that was developed by many aid agencies that work together. And in this model, it's called Village and Loan Savings Associations. And so it's a model too of microloans, but they work as a group. And so seed money is given, And from that seed money, they work out the order in which people will take loans and start projects out, start businesses, so that they can all have their own small business and develop them once everyone's been through. And so our role in those situations is to teach them how to form an association, to make sure that it's all running well, but then they're totally self-administered. And we've put it 50% and 50%, so it's 50% grant and 50% loan for that model, because we found that these are very poor people that kind of need that little boost to get going, and something that would be hard for them to pay back. But then with that 50% back, then that too can be self-sustaining in that way, because that money that does come back just is kind of the gift that keeps on giving. And even what does stay with them does stay with them. So it would be passed on like through the whole group, and then to help them build up their businesses. But also in addition to that, once they have something that's earning them an income, that fund can then transfer and be used by them if there's a family emergency. Like, there's often people die because they couldn't afford to get the remedy for malaria, and it might only be $10. And so it's a huge thing when you don't have available resources.
Without our project, many kids would not be able to be in school right now, because before the project, they were not able to afford to make the contribution towards lunch or have books to write in and pencils. And some of them didn't have uniforms, leave alone that they didn't have a decent clothes to put on to come to school. So if we had not gotten in, kids were just around willing to go to school, but they were unable to go to school. Oh, there is no future. The future is not really very bright because there is no education. And I just think education is everything, everywhere we go. So if you have no education, that means your chances are limited where you are, whereby you cannot go anywhere in anything. I would really recommend people to join Devxchange because it gives you a name. Before Devxchange, I didn't even know how to ask for help because nobody will know me. But if I say that I'm a lead member with Devxchange, then people will find out about you and confirm. Like, for example, when I was traveling to Uganda last December, I needed to take staff to Uganda, but the airline wouldn't have approved me if I had not mentioned Devxchange. That's where I get my strength. That's where I get my identification.
Our project is the New Livelihood Project. It's intended to train young people, young women, and in some cases young boys into earning a living, vocational training. And it was started because a lot of these poor ended up working in the streets of Bahadar as sex workers. And so in order to help and alleviate at least the poorest of the poor, we started training them in vocational skills. We have a team there that are Demalash and Asdanak with others, and a group of volunteers who implement all of the training, select the young women. And now we have switched more from we try to catch the young people before they hit the street. And so we have a committee there that selects the poorest of the poor, and then these candidates proceed into the training. as hairdressers in some cases, as in food preparation, and in computer training, in tailoring, in mop making in some cases. There's 5 or 6 I mentioned computer training, but I have an interesting story because one of the young candidates, Amelet was her name, she worked as a house servant for 15 years and made from $1 to $10 a month. And after graduating from the New Livelihood food program, she and some of the others who were trained with her started their own business in food preparation and started the Bethlehem restaurant, and where they serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And now, have they're young entrepreneurs. Someday they hope to have their own hotel. So these are some of the success stories that do happen.
So our donor support is crucial. We have so many folks that are invested in our project that are integral to life change, and a lot of in most cases that we've been able to go and witness firsthand, and that's been really exciting for us to see their investment into our project, and also to see the way they come alongside, and so it's just yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Should I start again, or
no, just that part.
Okay.
Yeah, just that last sentence. It's been really exciting.
So it's been great to have them come alongside and just partner with us, and to sort of get a glimpse of the vision that Martin has had. That's how Wendy and I have come to this project, is through his eyes, and so through his eyes we've been able to go and witness that firsthand as well, and that's why we wanted to invest the way we have into the project too with him, and just to be part of helping young women, especially like Mark was saying. So this has been very, very fulfilling, and also to see all the donors that have come alongside. It's been really a blessing to us as well.
They provide a platform. We had the opportunity to go and witness the project firsthand in Ethiopia with my dad Martin last year, and we saw firsthand, and Devxchange just gives us that opportunity and others to donate through that. So, it's not only the fact that you get a tax receipt, but you also have an organization that you can give to.
The only thing, the need there, is so, it's almost inexhaustible, because there are so many. Like, we also have a group of orphans now that we've taken on, and with how many is 20?
21 now, yeah.
21 orphans, and they get educated, and so the need is tremendous.
In the last 2 years, there have been 4 tribes of people who have been warring for hundreds of years, killing each other, have been reconciled. Their income levels have been increased by more than tenfold. Education, health care, and a change in beliefs has been introduced to these 4 tribes. Their entire lives have been turned upside down and changed from they were under the control of witch doctors for many, many years, and now all of a sudden they have hope in their lives, and the possibilities of a future where their lives were hopeless in the past. One of the reasons why I got involved in this project is because of the diplomacy that our project manager was able to display. When I was in Ethiopia 4 years ago, we were on a trip to the northern area of Ethiopia, and we were in this Jeep with only 3 lug nuts on the wheels, and like it was a beat up old piece of trash, and we're going down this road, and all of a sudden we came to a stop, and there were cars heading toward each other on a mud path with only one set of tire marks through it, and we didn't know what was the issue. And our project manager, he got out of our vehicle and he started walking towards where the vehicles were meeting, and he came across a bus, and he looked in the bus, and there was a soldier there standing with an AK-47, and he looked at him and he said, "Come with me." And we started walking, and he said to the soldier, he says, "You are the authority here." And the soldier said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "You have the authority in your hand." And after a conversation with him and the soldier, they went up to the front where the 2 vehicles were meeting that weren't moving, and within 5 minutes the traffic was moving. He convinced someone to move aside, allow the rest to go through, and he changed everything. And that's exactly what he's doing with those tribes of people, affecting thousands of lives just by diplomacy and reconciling issues that have been there for years and years and years. I think of the stories we have about the Hatfields and McCoys, the ongoing battles between families, and it's so much worse over there, and yet he's able to overcome those things and reconcile those people, and at the same time bring hope for a future where they haven't had any in the past.